Okay. Okay, good afternoon. I think we are good to go. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, we have a few people in the waiting room, but we will just start. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inemesit Dike, and I am privileged to be the chairperson of the Energy, Trade, and Technology Subcommittee of the TMT Committee of the MBA SLP Section on Legal Practice. It's a wonderful privilege to be present here today. It's a wonderful privilege to serve as the chairperson of this committee, and the concept and the mandate of the committee is to function within the energy space, within the trade space, as well as within the technology space, and work in that confluence to build a platform where lawyers and the members, as well members of the MBA SLP, as well as lawyers in the MBA, can benefit from these various industries, learn how to work in the niche, as well as understand and get access to information and opportunities that are available within the energy space, within the trade space, and within the technology space. That being said, this is the second of our series of webinars where we are pulling together experts from various subject matters, and today the concept and the topic is on steps to success, structuring success, cross-border trade practice, how to build that. We have excellent moderators, and we have an excellent moderator and an excellent speakers ready to be here. Unfortunately, our chairperson of our committee is about to join us when they join, as well as the chairperson of MBA SLP herself. But once they join us, we will definitely give them an opportunity to speak. But for now, I'm going to hand over to the moderator, Olubosola Ajala, to introduce the speakers and let's get this wonderful topic going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to moderate today's session. My name is Olubusola Ajala, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. And for today's conversation, we have interesting panelists or speakers to do justice to this topic, to this conversation. Like we know, the theme for the topic for today's webinar is structuring for success, a step-by-step guide to building a cross-border trade law practice. And so we have thought that who best to bring, to do justice to this conversation, but, those who are experts in the field. And without much ado, I'll just go on to introduce our speakers. And I like that we have a gender balance to our speakers today. That's a very good one. And I'll say kudos to the subcommittee who actually ensured that, it's a gender balance conversation we are having today. So I'm just going to go ahead to introduce our speakers. We have with us Dr. Michael Agama and Ms. Omobola Adekola. And I'm just going to, their profile is very long because, like I said, these people are like the experts here, right? So I won't be able to read through the entire profile. I just can't through it. And I believe that when they also have the floor, they will be able to say one or two things, about themselves, and we can further do our research about them. Okay, so I'll start with Dr. Michael Agama. Dr. Michael Agama is a distinguished legal, banking, and corporate governance professional with over 3 decades of experience spanning private legal practice, investment banking, and executive advisory roles. Called to the Nigerian bar on December 1991, having He was called to the Nigerian Bar in 1991. He has worked with the law firms of Tunde, Odunaye and Co. Page Law Office before joining Zenith Bank as a legal officer in 1997. His academic progress reflects a lifelong commitment to intellectual rigor across law, business, and governance, He's earned a Doctor of Business Administration from Leeds Beckett University, United Kingdom, where he had earlier completed a postgraduate program in corporate governance. He equally completed the Advanced Management Program at the Lagos Business School. He's a fellow and certified management consultant of the Institute of Management Consultants. He has served in senior legal and governance capacities at Guardian Express Bank, Spring Bank, Bank PHB, Keynote Bank, and a host of other banks. Yeah. Among his most consequential contribution was his leading in-house advisory role during the landmark purchase and assumption of Bank PHB PLC's assets and deposit liabilities by Keystone Bank Limited on 5th August 2011. He's also played a central role in the six bank merger that bettered Spring Bank. Okay, so I'm just trying to he's a prolific academic and knowledge-sharing practitioner. Dr. Agama has been engaged in teaching since 2023, including as external faculty at the Financial Institutions Training Center, where his lecture notes were published in FITC's Essentials of Banking. He has since delivered training at seminars organized by Esquire Legal Training, ICSAN, the NDIC, and a host of others. Let me just rush it, right? Dr. Agama is an active member of Nigeria's foremost professional institutions, Nigerian Bar Association, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, amongst a host of other associations. His professional excellence has been recognized through a succession of distinguished honors, including the NYSC State Chairman's Honors Academy Honors Award for Excellence Performance in Cross River State. Interesting. He was named among the top 100 corporate counsel in Africa in 2015 and has been consecutively listed on the Legal 500 GC Power List Nigeria in 2024 and 2025. Yeah. And it's a testament to the enduring impact of a career built on rigor, integrity, and service. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Agama. So I'll go to read Miss Dr. Agama, welcome. Can we spotlight Dr. Agama? Admin, please, can we spotlight Dr. Agama? So I'll go over to read Miss Adekola's profile. Omobola is a partner and head of Africa Trade Practice Group at DHQ Partners. She's a seasoned legal professional with close to 2 decades of experience in corporate and commercial transactions, specializing in international trade and intra-Africa trade with a deep understanding of the African business landscape. She's a leading voice in Africa's trade landscape and is a passionate advocate for unlocking the vast potential of African markets and empowering businesses to thrive in the era of the African continental free trade area. She provides legal and regulatory advisory services on intra-Africa trade compliance, AFCFTA implementation, and market access. She is the founder of the Trading Without Border podcast, a widely followed podcast that advances conversations on unlocking Africa's trade potential. The platform disseminates insights and fosters discussions on leveraging opportunities under the AFCFTA, demystifying Africa's trade agenda and amplifying stories of innovation, integration, and cross-border collaboration. As an international trade consultant, Omobola designs and delivers regional capacity building programs across Africa, equipping policymakers and private sector stakeholders with practical tools to strengthen trade performance and regional integration. Okay, so she has several certifications, including, getting an LLM in international trade from Durham University. So I'll just skip. Omobola is a strong believer in giving back. I volunteer work with organizations such as the Faith Foundation Nigeria, and the Caring Sisters Ministry exemplifies a commitment to empowering others and fostering a spirit of entrepreneurship within Africa. She's also the chair of the Young Directors Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, CIOD Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ms. Omobola Adekola. As a matter of fact, she's my friend and my sister. And I will say to you guys, please go check out her podcast. She has amazing episode on that podcast. And it's a podcast that is enriching. You get a lot of value from it and everything you need to know or to understand about, the Africa trade zone and intra-Africa and international trade, you will get it from our podcast. So I'm recommending that podcast with my full chest. So welcome, Ms. Omobola.
Thank you very much, Rita. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. That's to the Energy and Trade Committee of the Section on Legal Practice. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Welcome. Good afternoon. Dr. Agama, is Dr. Agama still here?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know if you're here.
Yes, we can hear you. Please, can you turn on your camera so we are able to see you and the admin is able to spotlight you? Thank you.
I've turned on my camera. Okay, fine. Great.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's good to be here.
Welcome. So can we just have, in 2 minutes, an opening remarks from you on this conversation we are having this afternoon before we then get into the Q&A session? Okay, so before we get into that, I see that our section chair is here, and so I'm going to yield the floor to her so that she can give a few opening remarks before we get started. Welcome, Mrs. Folashade Ali. I yield the floor to you for your opening remarks, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon, distinguished learned colleagues and all our friends that have joined today's webinar again. I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar for honestly every time just going beyond the duty of call to ensure that we stay informed. Thank you, Inimiset, and thank you, Ferdinand Marcos Obiani, for always putting together really topical discussions. And when I looked at the topic, structuring for success, a step-by-step guide to building a cross-border trade law practice, I just said this is timely, and it is essential for each and every one of us as lawyers to continue to recognize that we're in a global economy, and we must learn how we can position ourselves to be seen. And I thank the speakers, Dr. Agama and Ms. Omobola Adekola. Thank you, Busola, for always steering and for always willing to help us and to be part of SLP. Thank you all for joining. Just before I hand over, I welcome you all to this webinar, which I believe will be very, not only transformative, but very engaging. Let me just remind everyone that the MBA Section on Legal Practice Annual Conference will be taking place in less than a month's time, precisely from the 8th to the 10th of April at the National Theatre in Lagos. There will be a lot of networking, cutting-edge learning sessions. I encourage you to get your tickets, register. It's definitely going to be packed full of fun. We have golf tournament. We have, you can come and watch a film at Terra Culture. There's so many other side attractions, a rail ride around the country and not around the state. Please register, be part of us, and I look forward to seeing you all in April. Without much ado, I hand over to our able moderator, Busola, to steer the conversations of this afternoon. Thank you all, and I wish us all a productive and very rewarding afternoon. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, a very beautiful, delectable section chair, for that wonderful remarks. Thank you so much. And again, let me also emphasize, like she had emphasized, that the sections, the Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice conference is coming to Lagos this time around. And if you are not yet registered, I don't know what are you even doing on this call? What are you doing on this call if you are not registered? Please go and register and then come back. So you have heard, and I'm so looking forward to all of the programs lined up for that conference, because it's going to be a very fantastic one. It's going to be beautiful. The fact that we're going to be going to the Terra Culture to see a movie or a stage play, whatever it is really, really a beautiful one. So please, if you are not registered yet, I plead with you, please leave whatever you're doing right now, go and register and then come back here. This is recorded, so you can always get back to whatever you may have missed. So without much ado, I'll go back to our speakers. We are registering. Yes, thank you, Mohammed Jibrin. We are registering. Awesome. Please keep the registration coming. Keep the registration coming. And when you register, please just put a comment here that you've registered. Maybe you may just get a gift for yourself before the end of today's webinar. You never can tell. So when you just register, let us know that you just registered. For those of us who just registered, who are going to register today, so please do that and let us know. Okay, so let's get back into our conversation. So Dr. Agama, I was trying to ask that you give 2 minutes opening remarks on today's conversation, today's topic, structuring for success, a step-by-step guide for lawyers to get into trade, cross-border trade law practice. So please, can you just give us your opening thoughts on this for 2 minutes, and then we'll go over to Ms. Adekola to also give us our opening thoughts for just 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. I want to start by saying that international trade law, we need to be able to distinguish between international trade law and international commercial law, because the focus of these two areas of law, they are different, even though there is some similar. Let me say, even though they have some areas in common, all right, but international trade law is quite distinct from international commercial law. So as we carry on with this discussion, we should have this distinction in mind. And I hope that before the end of this discussion, we should be able to distinguish between the two, and then what are the essential elements. And then if a lawyer is going to practice in the area of trade law, what he or she should know about international commercial law. Because my belief is that you cannot practice successfully as an international trade lawyer if you don't have very solid knowledge of international commercial law. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Fantastic. And I like the fact that you try to make that distinction so that there are no confusion between international commercial law and international trade law. Thank you very much, sir. I'm over to you, Ms. Adekola.
All right. Thank you very much, Priscilla, for this. And thank you, Dr. Agama, for that distinction. For me, what I'll just say is that in terms of the global economy and the way the world is going right now, it is important for everyone to position themselves to be able to provide services, to be able to serve clients across multiple jurisdictions. And just like Dr. Agama said, you need to know the distinction between international trade law and international, although there are intersections and you may not be able to separate them fully. This is where it's not just in terms of, for you to be able to do that, it's not just your legal skills and expertise that you're going to be dispensing for this work. You're going to need some other expertise and advisory capabilities to be able to do that. And the way the world is going, not just about, oh, this is my legal skills. Clients don't want anybody that's just going to come there to tell them, oh, this is what the law says. You must be able to speak to the commercial aspects of whatever is doing. And I'm happy that we're holding this webinar this afternoon to speak to how we can position ourselves to take advantage of the benefits across borders. And what I always say, even in my speaking, Africa is a beautiful bride right now. Yes, our focus is not just on Africa. And there are a lot of expansion, people coming into Africa to take it. And if we are here, we are not positioning ourselves to be able to take advantage of all of the opportunities opening up, then we might be having some in the long run. So I'll just stop there. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So this is an opportunity for us to position ourselves. And I like the fact that the Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice is bringing this to us. And like Ms. Adekola said, Africa is a bride right now, like it's the precious bride right now. So I think that it's an opportunity for us as lawyers to actually position ourselves in this practice, in this particular practice sector. Not everybody, I mean, and I know that a lot of people want to go into the tech space, fintech, and all of that. But there are a lot of opportunities, and even in the tech space, or more particularly in the fintech space, you still need the understanding of intra and inter-Africa trade practice, because a lot of fintechs are also they're not just limited to Nigeria. They're moving away from Nigeria, beyond Nigeria, and expanding into other African countries. And the knowledge of trade, cross-border trade law, is something that is important for you to utilize in your work in that capacity. So right now we'll go into the question, into the Q&A, and I would also request, okay, before we get into that, let me also mention that we're going to have a poll at 2:30. We're going to have a quick poll, so please be on the lookout for the poll so you can actually just respond to it immediately it comes up. We'll be having that poll at 2:30, and that's about 7 minutes from now. So, but before then, let me also create the indulgence of our speakers that we really want to get as much value as we can from today's session. So I'll please say that please just go straight to the point, make it succinct, but make it very, very robust so that our audience would get value. Okay, so Dr. Agama, I want to start with, demystifying trade finance and from a lawyer's view. No audio, please. Somebody say no audio. Please, can you all confirm that you can hear me? So perhaps the person would have to check his or her own.
I can hear you clearly.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so please check your device. Maybe it's from your end. So Dr. Agama, I wanted to talk about, from your own experience, what's trade finance really about in practice? Now we keep hearing trade finance and all of that. From your experience, what is it really about in practice? Is it risk allocation? Is it document integrity or enforcement certainty? And where do lawyers most commonly misunderstand this? Over to you, sir.
Trade finance, like I said earlier, is not exactly the same as international commercial law. Trade finance has to do with the financing of international commercial transactions, right? So the reason for trade finance is to mitigate the risk that may arise between the buyer and the seller. In this case, we can say the exporter and the importer. So the exporter sends goods to the importer receives the goods. Depending on the structure of the trade finance, there is risk between these two ends. So I'll say that it's about risk allocation, and it's also about document integrity. Risk allocation in the sense that when a bank comes in or a financial institution comes in to finance an international transaction, all right, that financial institution or the bank takes off the risk majorly from the exporter and from the importer. Now, what is this risk? The exporter wants to be sure that he will receive payment for the goods, while the importer wants to be sure that the goods he has ordered are exactly what the terms of the contract provide for. So what the bank does is to come in, assure the exporter that you get paid, and then assure the importer that you get the goods as outlined in the trade document. So to that extent, is about risk allocation, but it's also about document integrity, because any bank that is worth its name will not just pick up a document from an exporter and on that basis, arrange to make payment. They have to diligently check the documents against what have been contracted to be sure that the documents meet all the requirements, all the conditions that will qualify payment to be made. So to that extent, it is also about document integrity. Thank you.
Very much, sir. Fantastic. I would like you to also speak to where do you think that lawyers mostly, misunderstand this issue? What are the commonly misunderstood areas amongst we lawyers when it comes to this particular explanation you just gave?
Okay, the first thing is that, like I said, lawyers should know that international trade, all right, like international trade law, like I said, is not the same as international commercial law. So you need to keep that distinction in mind. Okay. Now that distinction will help you determine what steps to take when you are faced with a situation when you have to give legal advice. So once you're able to know that this transaction, like international trade law, deals with state entities, not private individuals. So you need to make that distinction, right? So when private entities contract amongst themselves internationally, all right, the lawyer should be able to know or should, apprise himself or herself of what the terms of that international commercial transactions are. Okay, so that will help. Now, if you take what should be under international trade law and move it over to international commercial law, you are likely to give wrong advice. So it is important to keep that distinction in mind, that international commercial law has its own nuances, has its own, conditions and whatever you need to know about them, so that you don't confuse the two or substitute one for the other. They are on two different tracks, even though they appear to be related in practice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And I hope that we, the audience, we are getting value and, paying rapt attention to this, because I consider this as also, and I consider the goal of this webinar as, one that helps us as lawyers to see other practice, to see this particular practice area and see how we can get into it. I remember at the last AGC, one of the conversations we were talking about was how we can expand the pie for ourselves as lawyers, so that we can get more practice areas that we can actually latch onto, and not everybody just going in one direction and making the pie shorter for us to, share from. But if we're able to expand our pie, then we'll be able to get more work, get more opportunities. So it's right about now, it's 2:30. I'm just going to hand over to the admin, who is going to then take us for a quick poll. Are we ready, admin? Please confirm that we're ready. Or if we're not ready, we can just move ahead with the conversation. Admin, please confirm that we're ready.
The poll is being launched right now. I don't know if you can see it on your screen.
Yes, the poll is being launched right now. Yes.
Esteemed participants, please fill the poll. Yes, the responses are coming in. Please keep filling the poll. This is like a pre-assessment poll. We just want to have a gauge of your knowledge on the subject matter being discussed. So it's going to be up for a very short time. So in another 1 minute or thereabout, the poll will be ending. So please fill the poll very quickly. Thank you.
The person has committed a crime.
30 seconds more for the poll, please. In 30 seconds, the poll will be ending. Okay, so yep. Okay, so this is the result of the poll. The first question says which best describe you, and 78% of our participants are lawyers in private practice, 11% are in-house counsel, 6% government and regulatory professional, 3% student and early career professional, 3% others. The second question, have you ever worked on a cross-border trade transaction or legal matter? 6% says yes, 22% is saying yes, occasionally, 6% is saying only once or twice, 61% says no, but I'm interested in doing so. 6% is saying no, and I'm not sure how to get started. The last question, do your current or potential clients engage in cross-border trade within Africa? 25% says yes frequently, 28% says yes occasionally, 36% says not currently, 11% is not sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we can check that out. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that poll. And so we have the results there now. I see that some of us are interested, but we don't know how to get started. And I think you're in the right place. Yeah, you're in the right place. This webinar is one of the ways, one out of several ways in which would help you know how to get started. And like I said, again, you can also stalk our speakers for today. You can see already that they are knowledgeable in that area and they have, some experience in that area. So it will be good for you to also maybe follow them on social media, check out their work, and see what you can learn from them. I also mentioned that Ms. Adekola has, a podcast. I think would want to tell her to please maybe drop in the comments or forward to the admin how people can access your podcast so that they can also go there for some learning and insights on how to get started. Okay, so Ms. Adekola, I'm going to come to you right now. Can you discuss how differences in business culture, language, and informal networks between Nigeria and its neighbors can affect legal practice in cross-border transactions? What actions can a lawyer take to bridge these gaps for their clients?
Okay. Thank you very, very much. I think it's important before we even go into this to first of all give idea of what cross-border trade entails. Then you are then able to move it to flow into the cultural differences and all of those things. Because if we don't have what a cross-border business advice entails, you might not be able to get the full concept of what that is really. So I'll just speak briefly about what they're doing in terms of cross-border trade is basically advising or providing services on the legal, regulatory, and commercial considerations of doing business across borders, across multiple jurisdictions, whether you want to provide goods, whether the client wants to provide services, or they want to invest in different jurisdictions. You must be able to advise them on the legal issues in doing that, the compliance requirements or the regulatory issues, and the commercial issues that comes to that, because it's not just about regulations and that the clients want as much as possible. I want to do business across border and I need to do it in a legal way, in an efficient manner, that of course I want to also be profitable. So that's what I can, I'll just speak to that. Maybe I don't know if I'm going to be able to speak more on cross-border advice and but the question to which Busola asked is, in terms of doing business across border, I think one thing I would say is we must take be very conversant or try to in terms of nuances. I'll just give practical examples. For us in Nigeria, our things are really fast paced and we tend to want to get things done quick. Most of my experience, really, especially within Africa, is their things seems to be a bit they don't move as quick or as fast, not because of or maybe they are still, but they don't tend to move as quick or as fast as we do. Sometimes them share an experience. You send something, there are interactions ongoing, and you're expecting maybe the email to come back to you within 24, 48 hours. I can tell you that sometimes it may come back to you 1 week after. They are not in terms, so you must also understand and respect So I have been muted. I don't know. I just realized I was muted. So you must understand those cultural differences in terms of doing business. You need to also understand the jurisdictions as well in terms of where you are going to. What are their regulations in terms of entry? If you want to, if your client wants to do business in those jurisdictions, what are the requirements? What are the entry requirements for jurisdiction in terms if it's to provide goods and services, or sorry, for example, if it's to provide goods, what does it take in terms of maybe import and export? Your client wants to import, what are the exports to that country? What are the export or licensing requirements? What are the customs requirements? You must understand all of those things before you can. Then one thing about Africa is you must also understand language. If you want to do business across borders, you must be willing to learn other languages. It's because it takes Africa is not just English or whatever you are going to. So I'll just limit this conversation to Africa. So you must be willing to maybe like French, because we have a lot of francophone countries, especially even in West Africa. They are looking at things like Portuguese, and you must understand that even in terms of doing transactions or entering into whatever, whether it's partnership or agreement, you would have to take that into conversation. I've had meetings that the other side, it was Portuguese that the major party could speak, and they had somebody that could speak English. So every time we are entering those meetings, you are speaking and somebody is interpreting from their own end, you are waiting, and you are sending documents you interpreted into that Portuguese language and English, because sometimes, and you also need to be very conscious of the fact that there is in terms of translation, you can miss out meanings. So you are sending that with English and Portuguese so that they are bringing it back to you so you understand what. So those are the things you must take into consideration doing business. And Africa does a lot of there are also a lot of you must understand. So we do what I'll call it profiling. A lot of country profiling, consumer profiling, sector profiling. Whatever your client wants to go into, whatever you want to put, you must understand the consumers. The same way you serve consumers or clients in Nigeria, even Nigeria, we have our differences. The same way you want to serve in the West is different from, so you must understand that those countries, you need to even client wants to know. You can say, "Oh, I'm a lawyer. I'm just supposed to do something illegal." But the way everything is going right now, you can't stick to that. You must also build your expertise and skills. You want to profile. That's so for your client to be able to access to. But what sort of things? How can my clients serve this? What sort of product do they need? How do they provide those products in a way that customers will be able to come in? You want it, even in terms of services. You need to try a bit of understanding what's so you must do your intelligence, a lot of intelligence work as well, to understand those countries, to understand the consumers, to understand, because it involves a lot of intelligence. I had to go and learn some market intelligence expertise to know how to use those tools and all of that in terms of profiling different countries, even outside of Africa and all of those. So it is important that you understand a whole lot of it. Then you also must, so I'll just stop here a bit so maybe you can, so thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
You have finished. I don't know if I'm a moderator.
Yes, the moderator. I think she had slight.
Okay.
She had slight internet issues, network issues. That's what I believe. But while we're waiting for her to come back up, thank you so much for that, Omobola. It would be good as a follow-up question to that, if you can please just share examples of the marketing tools that you were looking to study, so that when our colleagues on the call are reaching out to you, they can be specific to say thank you for giving us these tools, but now teach us how to get to know to use these tools. So if you could share one or two that they could start looking into using.
Oh, okay. So the International Trade Center and some other development organizations, they have some marketing intelligence tools that helps you to be able to conduct your trade research. So to have some ITC tools, trade flows, and the rest of them. So if anybody, the International Trade Center, that's one tool that is very useful. They have quite a number of them. Then there are some others that are not focused on Africa alone. We have the EU access to market tools as well. That's for accessing the EU markets and amongst others. So those are some of the tools that you can use to carry out intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for that. I hope we are all taking notes, because prior to the moderator having to experience a little bit of network issues, I was writing. I have a book full of information that I'm going to use to expand my practice into this area. So thank you for that. Dr. Gama, we'll be coming over to you. Please, to the team that's behind the scene, as soon as the moderator is able to jump back on the call, please let me know, so that we can hand this back over to her. Dr. Gama, hi, please. So we would want to thank you very much for being here so far with us. So really looking at prospective steps, I would like to know, what are some non-negotiables, the non-negotiables, legal and non-legal skills, especially the non-legal skills that a lawyer, whether young or not at this point, because like it was mentioned at the beginning, we need to start looking out for areas where we can expand, make more money, earn more, increase our remuneration power. So what are the areas, the legal areas? I'm sure you've spoken to some of that already, but what about the non-legal skills that you do believe that we need to immediately master, that can make us useful on a trade financing deal, especially on the trade financing, because that's really key to the stakeholders. Thank you.
Okay. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Now, on the trade finance side, which deals more with international and commercial law. What I want to advise is this. Number one, we have to, okay, you say I should leave the legal side and look at the non-legal side.
Let's start with the non-legal, yeah.
Okay, fine. Number one, you need to establish yourself as an authority, right? As somebody who is competent and knowledgeable in this area of law. And one of the ways you can do that is to consciously work to become a thought leader. Maybe you want to deal with letters of credit, for instance, all right, which is one of the instruments that we use in trade finance. You want to start writing articles and blogs in that area, okay? So that when people read, they want to know who is this person. They want to know your background. They want to know about your practice and all that. So that is one of the ways, non-legal ways, you can actually get into this area. Then I also want to add that you need to build a solid reputation for transparency. All right, you need a solid reputation for transparency. Just like Ms. Adekola mentioned, God forbid that a lawyer would delay responding to an issue and then liability will crystallize. That's not a good experience with clients. So whenever an issue arises, deal with it like yesterday. This has to do with our work habits. We shouldn't postpone or procrastinate, right? As soon as the matter arises, whatever it takes, deal with that matter as quickly as possible. Then you also want to consider establishing what are called strategic alliances with foreign partners, foreign law firms. Reason being that you cannot be in all jurisdictions at the same time. So if you need to carry out an operation outside the country, it should be a place where you have trusted, local solicitors in those areas that you have a partnership with that can take up the issue on your behalf. That will help a lot. And then your firm profile is also very, very important. Okay, when I was in the bank, there are some firm profiles we receive that don't give us an idea who is who, what are the areas of competencies, what make up the professional background of the lawyers in that firm. Some lawyers will just write one-page document and call it a firm profile, right? Now, I find it difficult to trust such firms because I don't know who I'm dealing with. So your firm profile should really market you. Your firm profile should speak to your unique capabilities. Your firm profile should speak to the transactions you have handled, all right, across the board for clients. That will give some confidence, okay? That will give some confidence to whoever is going to, make use of your services. And then you also need, because you're going to be dealing, you must be aware of Article 45, all right, of GATE, the General Advisory Implementation Directive of the Data Protection Act, all right? So what you need in that regard is to have a data protection compliance officer who will review the data you are sending across, because you are sending across sensitive information. Now, there are few law firms, I believe, who will be able to engage a full-time data protection officer. But that doesn't stop you from outsourcing that role. Okay, you can outsource that role, but the important thing is that you have a professional who is guiding you in the area of data protection. So you protect yourself as a lawyer, and then you protect your client so your client doesn't run into trouble dealing with data that is sent across the borders. And then you also need to be upfront with your clients. For example, if you have an alliance with a foreign firm, okay, you need to let your clients know. All right, let them know that you have a partnership with this firm located in this place, and these are the things they are doing, and these are the things we are doing. So that when they send of course, you would have had that discussion with your client. It's important that your foreign consultants or clients send in their own bill independent of your own. I don't think it's advisable for you to lump up your own bill with the bill of your foreign partner, all right, in the area of billing. So that will bring a lot of clarity and transparency in dealing with such areas. And of course, your international arbitration knowledge is also very, very important. Okay, you need that knowledge because when there are disputes, even at the level of private parties engaged in transactions, there might be need to go before arbitration panels. There might be need to even go to court. You must demonstrate your competence in those areas. These are some of the few non-legal issues that I can speak to in the area of international commercial law. Okay, there are other issues that we can deal with when we are dealing with trade service or trade law, international trade law. So for now, I yield the mic to the moderator.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Gama. I'm not sure if our moderator has jumped back on. If she's in, please just unmute yourself. But while we're waiting for her to unmute herself, I just wanted to say thank you to that. There are a few things that we picked up on that, which was really get a data compliance officer. Now, I know that many lawyers, there's been a huge work that has been done in that space. So a lot of lawyers now have taken, exams to become DPOs, DPCOs, so they can provide both services. I think that that's a very key thing. So that will be included in your firm profile to say, look, we are not just lawyers locally, nationally. We are also international trade lawyers. We are international commercial lawyers. We now know the distinction. And in addition to that, we have on our team a data protection, a data compliance officer who can support the client's brief. This also means that indirectly you're saying to the firm, to the client, look, we have these as extras, as value additions rather, to give to the client and why they should choose you. I think that a comment that you made, Dr. Gama, was very, very key in saying that we need to have clear specificity in how we are writing our company profiles. Your company profile is good, your law firm profile is going to be the first interaction. Your website, your social media page is going to be your first interaction for potential clients to meet with you. Your profile needs to be able to speak to your areas of expertise so he can identify or they can identify why they want to take you and also the value of what you're going to be bringing to the table, comparing that with your foreign partner. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Gama. We just wanted to ask you a question concerning arbitration, international trade arbitration within Africa. Just to piggyback off what you were saying. Oh, our moderator is back on. Yeah, welcome back, Yippee. So Dr. Gama, before I yield over to her, I wanted to ask you in the concept of arbitration. You said that we should have information, be knowledgeable in the area of arbitration in the event that we as lawyers are going to go before the arbitration panel, would you advise, based on your experience, where would you advise for lawyers to start off with? Should they be looking at how to represent their clients in front of the panel, or should they be focusing on how to become experts within international trade and international commercial law, so they can become they can actually sit in as an expert on the panel and be selected as part of a different source of income, to be selected to be on the panel themselves? What would you advise lawyers to start off with? Mr. Gama, I don't know if you heard me.
The audio was hanging at some point. So we're asking whether, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
You are asking whether the lawyer should just focus on knowledge of arbitration and appear as representing their clients, or specialize in international commercial law and trade law, okay, so that you can have the benefit of both worlds. I don't know if I got you right.
Yes, so they can be selected as arbitrators themselves to sit in on the panel to oversee the arbitration instead of appearing before the panel. So what would you advise, or just talk to us about that career path?
I'm concerned that if a lawyer is advising a client and there is need to go to arbitration, I doubt if that lawyer will not be conflicted if they now sit as one of the arbitrators. I don't know. That relationship is not too clear to me. Okay? So, what I'll prefer is for the lawyer to appear on behalf of their clients. So for them to do this effectively, they must know the rules of arbitration, okay, the procedure, everything about arbitration, and then they must know everything about their clients' transactions. That would be a safer course for me to take. All right. If I go and sit as an arbitrator, I'm worried that I might be conflicted. I don't know. So my advice is know your subject very well. Arbitration, yes, because it's a necessary part of international commercial transactions. And then you must also know your trade law, know your commercial law very well, so that either way, you'll be able to represent your client. But to sit as an arbitrator is, unless you are doing it for a client that you're not working for on that particular transaction. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, yes, perfectly, Dr. Gama. The idea was, if you're not working for, no, you're not that you're sitting as an expert when you're representing a particular client. No, the question was, and you answered it perfectly, is should I want to grow to be appearing dependent client, or do I want to be an expert sitting on the panel? So thank you very much for that, Dr. Agama. Thank you. Our honorable moderator is back. Busola, welcome back. I yield the floor to you. Thank you. Busola, your mic is muted.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for standing in for me. Network can be crazy, despite the fact that I'm using multiple network. Okay, so I'll go over to Ms. Adekola again, and I was just going to, still piggyback on the question I asked the last time, and I wanted to just ask the simple question. Who needs our services as lawyers when it comes to cross-border trade law practice? Who are the people who are in need of our services? Can you really expatiate on that, so that we can begin to think of, okay, areas where as lawyers we can position for work, because we'll know that, okay, this kind of people will need our services, or that kind of people will need our services, and we'll be able to, position properly in those areas. So what are the kind of people or organizations or industry that you think would need our services as lawyers?
Okay, thank you for that. I think the simplest before I could delve deep is anybody that wants to do business across borders, whether physically or digitally, whether they are doing it physically or they are moving online, they need our services. So we are looking at people that are into dealing in exports and imports. They are looking at maybe manufacturers or apologies about that. That are doing business, you are looking at them. Businesses that want to expand into should I say Africa, there are also multinational organizations that are also expanding across. They need our services. Examples we can see around it, apart from for SMEs and startups, we can see the likes of them Flutterwave. They are moving across various jurisdictions across Africa. Governments also need in terms of trade negotiation and advisory. But of course, when the experts will be that, those are then the financial institutions. And Dr. Agama, thankfully, has spoken a lot in terms of trade financing. They also need our services. So SMEs, they are looking at people that want to do businesses. That then we have yes, those are majorly the client sort of client you should be looking at. Then of course, maybe trade association, chambers of commerces and all of that. Yes, in terms of when they want to go and do all of their trade promotion, and they also want you to capacity building for their members. Those are areas that you should be looking at as well. Basically, anybody that wants to want to expand, because nowadays you have a lot of people that are interested. Even SMEs, they want to expand. So those are the clients or prospective clients that you should be looking at. It's a lot more than this, but those are the clients that you should be looking at. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I hear you say manufacturing organizations, Chamber of Commerce's, SMEs, and I love the fact that you did not, restrict it to just people who are trading physical products. So people who are also trading digital products would definitely are part of, our target audience in terms of those who would need our services. So I hope we are taking notes in terms of those who would need our services. And I also think that for some of us, some of our existing clients may also still need our services should they be interested in moving or expanding into another African market. So it may be a conversation we may want to start having with some of our existing clients to know and to see how we can actually follow them into this market they want to expand into. Like I would always say, follow the money. So if your client is actually going or moving or expanding into another country, to an African country, there is no reason why you as a lawyer who is already, providing services or legal services to them shouldn't still be the one to provide that kind of service to them. Meaning this is the reason why you need to actually acquire more skill and competence such that you are able to provide, as many services as you can to your existing clients. Okay, so let me still stay with you, Ms. Adekola. And the next question I want to ask you relates to building the right team and competencies. So please, can you identify the key legal and non-legal competencies, e.g. knowledge of the AFC, FTA protocols, foreign language skills, digital trade expertise that interested lawyers, should have, and explain why each is critical for the Nigerian and African trade environments.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for mentioning AFCFTA because sometimes it can be alarming when I meet a lot of lawyers. Yes, even when we meet non-lawyers, and I understand the reason why, because that's why they said we don't have a lot of trade lawyers, because trade law practice is actually a lot. It involves and if you do not have the patience, and so for you to first things first, you must be the AFCFTA. You must understand what the AFCFTA. If you want to do anything within Africa right now and you don't know what AFCFTA is, that's the first thing that you should get yourself to understand what the agreement is about, what a free trade area is about, what are the protocols speaking into, what is ongoing within the AF. So you must understand trade agreements, understanding the AFCFTA, how your clients can benefit from the preferential or the duty-free treatment in the AFCFTA. Those are the first things that you must understand. How can you serve? Thankfully, the AFCFTA is quite divided into protocols. You want to service clients under the protocol on trade in goods, where your client is accessing the preferential tariffs benefits under that, or do you want to serve on clients that provide services, and or is in areas of intellectual property? Yes, it's still an emerging. There's some trade going on. There are still negotiations ongoing, but I can tell you there are also activities. And if you want to serve within Africa, serve clients within Africa, you must understand what the AFCFTA is about. Then another thing you should also understand that Africa is divided into regional economic communities. You must understand all of what the RECs are about. You must understand the ECOWAS. So when I say African, is ECOWAS. You have the SADC, that's the Southern Africa Development Commission. You must understand the EAC. You must understand Arab Maghreb Union and all of the others. You must understand what the regulation in terms of what are the benefits of trading under each of the things. So you must understand the RECs. Follow them, read about them, what it is about, what are the benefits. For instance, under ECOWAS, there are preferential trading systems as well, apart from the AFCFTA. So can your client do trade or do business under the ECOWAS, ELTS, trading, all of those things, even East Africa? You need to understand trade. You must be able to dissect trade agreements, read them, understand what that's under. Dr. Agama had specified about international trade and international commercial. So international commercial also for trade, understanding all of those trade agreements. If it's not even Africa, WTO rules and all of those things, you need to know about. So that's for, you have the RECs, you have the AFCFTA, that's for your legal skills. So even, let's say, for international commercial, your clients wants to enter into another African to do business. So you must be able to advise even on the legal aspect of it. What are the issues? What sort of entry does your clients want to do? Is it to an acquisition? Is it to set up branches? Is it joint venture and all of? So you must understand all of how do you structure such transactions cross-border? You may have the domestic knowledge. Yes, but how do you structure it? Africa is 50. There are 54 African countries right now. You want to do business, like you must understand. So it is not even with the ECOWAS. Your client wants to set up or enter Ghana. You must understand what are the legal issues, what are the regulatory issues, and all of that. You are complying with regulations across all of the old Africans. So if the likes of them fintechs that have, and our banks that have entered, that have been able to penetrate different regions, they've had to comply with various regulations across. But so it's not, we don't have the same regulation or this. Even yes, with the EFZ continental, but there are still country regulations, industry specific regulations, all of this. You must build the expertise to be able to follow the news when it comes to cross-border issues. And just like I had said before, for non-legal skill translation, language, it is important that, or you're getting somebody that has those skills and all of those, but you can't serve Africa and remain on English. Don't worry, I'm also still in my own phase of trying to build my other language skills and all of that. So that's a language. You must understand the formal nature of doing things across Africa. What are the customs? Okay, I've spoken about trade as well. Then in terms of digital trade, there's a lot going on within the digital trade space. Nigeria was just named, I think Nigeria and South Africa, digital trade champions. And if anybody has been following Dr. Jumoke Odwole, you see a lot of what they are trying to do. And that's one area that even in terms of AFC, because you can easily provide your services on the internet. So you must be able to understand what does it take, what does the digital trade protocol, what is this saying. So being able to have those skills and for you to be able to dice is what is going to help you. So if you don't want to, you don't want to limit yourself. I'll share an experience. I did a training in Lesotho sometimes last year. And it was even on trade agreement that I had not, of course, yes, I knew trade agreement and all. So I had to go and analyze the EU SADC partnership agreement with Southern Africa and EU countries, because of course, what is happening when Trump came up with his own tariff issues and all, they had been benefiting from AGOA. But when that was suspended, they have to start looking for other markets. How do they penetrate? So those are the things you need to be conscious of. Everybody is trying to see where is the next phase. They had to, and I was contacted to come and analyze that agreement for their trade officials. And I had to also look at their own trade policy. What are the things they also want, and how can they also benefit from the FCFTA? It's not like I had prior knowledge of what they're, but I had to go read and study, do my analysis, do the intelligence, and I went there and I did that, and I facilitated that training for them, a capacity building for traders. So they could have gotten somebody from Lesotho, but if you have positioned yourself to show that I have expertise within Africa, I have this and that, people will easily reach out to you for some of. So if, when Busola was saying that your existing clients who must look at you like you have Africa focused practice. Your existing clients also wants to know, because this working with cross-border involves a lot of trust. You can remember what Dr. Agama said earlier. If you have to do business, it involves a lot of trust. And if you are in the process of doing all of that, then people need to trust you. You are taking me to a place that you are not even there. So they must have that trust that you can actually help them to expand. You have the expertise and the skills. So for your client to even give you, to say, come and take us, they need to be sure that you have that expertise. They are saying you are positioning yourself out there that, yes, we have the capability, we have this and that, we can take you to this place in Africa, we can take you to that place. They must see all of that. So those are the things, the skills you need to study. Then intelligence, you must be able to know how to do intelligence, understanding those countries. What is this? Even their political issues, you must be able, you have to keep abreast of what is going on for you to be able to serve cross-border. It can't only be domestic. Africa, just like I said, Africa is a beautiful bride, right? A lot of them are coming. Foreigners are coming. Foreign countries are coming. I remember I did a webinar for Latin America, their business, because they said they don't know anything about Africa, and they're also looking to see how they can penetrate into that market. Nigeria just signed the CEPA, this Economic Partnership Agreement with the UAE. All of those things, different investments coming into Africa, different. So you must position yourself to be able to take advantage of. So is it going to be easy, or is it not? It's not a walk in the park. It's a lot, which is why you hear Dr. Agama keep saying there's the different international commercial, international trade agreements are quite a lot. It's a lot of work and all of that, and you must be willing to put in the work that it requires for you to be able to start that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was a robust response, and I was just smiling and said, oh, this is a proud friend moment. I'm very proud of my friend for the way she's an expert in that area, and she has said it a lot, that we need to position ourselves, and so we don't need to actually have just a Nigerian focused law practice, but we need to begin to now expand beyond just having a Nigerian focused law practice. Some of us even have maybe an Enugu-focused law practice or a Lagos-focused law practice. So we need to move beyond our residential, practice area, move across Nigeria, have a Nigerian-focused practice area, and then move up higher again by having an African-focused practice area. Because that's the only way you will be seen, or you will be identified, or you will be contacted for work across, beyond Nigeria, for work within the cross-border market. So we're wrapping up very soon, because we don't want to take too much of our time, and we are getting almost to the end of this conversation. We're going to be having another poll by 3:20, so 6 minutes from now. So, but right now, I would want Dr. Agama, and if you can speak to it in just 1 minute, I will really appreciate that. I want us to talk about structuring, packaging, and monetizing trade finance legal expertise. And for me, the money is important. I mean, some of you already know me that I talk about, law has been a business, and if your practice is not profitable, then your practice just has to be profitable. So we really need to talk about, the money. We need to talk about finance. We need to talk about, how to monetize, all of these skills that we are, all of these skills we are trying to motivate ourselves to actually acquire. So, Dr. Agama, in 1 minute, if you can speak to this, and I would also extend the question also to Ms. Adekola. How do you monetize advisory inputs before financing closes? and when risk is still abstract. I want to make it a 2-in-1. And then, can trade finance practices scale sustainably? Can trade finance practices scale sustainably? What systems do law firms need to put in place to make that possible? I'll take it again. How can we monetize advisory before the financing closes? So while parties are still discussing, financing, and the risk is still abstract, how can we as lawyers or as law firms, how can we monetize our advisory? And then, can trade finance practices scale sustainably? What systems do law firms need to put in place to make it possible?
Okay, I have just 1 minute to respond. Okay, fine. We can monetize, because I imagine that a lot of the things we are doing as lawyers, especially when we have clients that are well established and all that, we cannot be doing them pro bono. The reason why we're in practice is to be able to make some money, right? Even though the extent to which you can make that money, it depends on, it varies from individual to individual. So I think the point has to be made clear right from the beginning that you are giving an advice, and it's either that advice will be billed together with your final bill, or you bill separately for the advice that you have given. But all will depend on the kind of relationship we have with your client. And then whether we can scale trade practice, yes, why not? One of the ways we can do that is to digitize our practice, right? We can bring in a lot of technology. What we need to do here is, if we have a concept, we get the people who have the technical know-how to, to digitize our practice. Yes, we can do that. For example, if you have to, it's not in all cases that are going to be sending bulk documents. I know some lawyers who, funny enough, are not not the modern generation of lawyers, some of the older generation who distrust technology. All right, everything must be done in black and white. But generally, practice is moving away from analog practice to digital practice. So we have to flow with that trend. If we're able to do that, we'll make ourselves more acceptable, quote and unquote, to foreign partners. Okay. Now, digitization will also enhance transparency, because everything will be, your digital footprints will show. Nothing is left to guesswork. So I think we can scale if we go the way of technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making that very brief and straight to the point. You talked about technology, the fact that we need to actually embrace technology. And I think this is a part where a lot of us as lawyers really need to be more intentional about it. A lot of us as lawyers, we still have this aversion to technology, or we are not trying to catch up. So beyond trying to play catch up, we really need to embrace technology. We really need to, and we're not just talking about, the very easy one, right? So we need to go more advanced, in the way we embrace and leverage technology. So thank you, sir, for speaking to that very boldly. I would like Miss Adekola to chime in on this. I know that you have actually made some efforts from your expertise of being in that. So how can we as lawyers, how can we monetize our advisory? How can we actually ensure that we're able to scale sustainably, building a trade practice across Africa?
Okay, I'll just lean in on what Dr. Agamat said in terms of building your digital footprint. I think that's really important. And that then you're also looking at entering partnerships across, because you can't do this alone. That's the truth, because of course you're also limited by jurisdictional regulatory issues as lawyers and all of those things. So you're looking at partners across, or what are the other networks that you can join that you're able to then maybe sort of split fees and some of those arrangements that they bring in. They have transactions in Nigeria, and they get you to come in to do all of those transactions for them, and you have transactions in their own region, and you need a local advisory input, and they are able to do that. So it's very key to look at. That's also one of the ways. Then also building your skills and expertise, and also putting it out there. I see that somebody was talking about something about RPC, but yes, you need to advertise, but there are ways that you are putting yourself out there, and people are seeing the skills and expertise that you have across. And by then, when people see that and they're showing it, so they see that, oh, this person has an interest in cross-border, they are able to come to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I love the fact that you talked about, building partnerships. The fact that we may not be able to do it alone. We may need to have partners across other African countries, which is one of the things I know that you actually leverage on very well. So you've said it all, and I really want to appreciate you. I think I saw a comment in the chat box, but before we go into that, I saw a question or something in the chat box. But before we go into that, it's 3:21 now, and our poll should come up. So, admin, please, can you help us with the poll? And that's the last poll for this webinar. Admin, over to you. Please help us with the poll. Fantastic. The poll is all. Please, can we actually take the poll now? Please, can we keep our answers coming?
Okay, the poll will be going off in 30 seconds. So please fill the poll in 30 seconds. We'll be handing the poll. All right, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so I will be handing the poll now so that we can continue the session and wrap up shortly. Yes, so from the poll, the first question, before registering for this webinar, how familiar were you with the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA? 9% very familiar, 59% somewhat familiar, 26% of participants said, I have heard about it, but do not understand it very well. 7% is saying, I have never heard about it. Question 2, what do you believe is the biggest barrier to starting or growing a cross-border trade law practice? 20% says lack of technical knowledge of trade law, 24% lack of cross-border clients, 15% lack of international networks or partnerships, 11% regulatory and compliance complexity, 30% limited training or practical guide on how to start. The third question, before this webinar, were you aware of the work of the Energy, Trade and Technology Subcommittee of the TMT Committee? 70% says yes, I'm familiar with the committee and its work. 22% says yes, but only slightly familiar. 61% says no, this is my first time hearing about the committee. Then the final question, would you like to join the Energy, Trade and Technology Subcommittee of the TMT Committee? 85% says yes. Nobody said no. 15% says I'm not sure. So that's the poll. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's an interesting poll, and I like that. It's 5% of us are interested in joining this committee. But I would say that our chair of this subcommittee is a high energy woman, and she has said that everybody must work in this committee. There is no room for anybody to say, I'm just observing. So if you are coming to join us, please be rest assured that this is a committee where you are going to be committed to doing the work, where you would work, where you would show up, right? So I'm just trying to give you a heads up before you sign in, but that's not to say you shouldn't join us. You should actually join us. And I think I also saw another thing on the poll. Somebody saying the reason why they are not, into the trade law practice is because lack of, cross-border clients. And I want to say that, at the time, and I keep saying because I'm very aware of okay, you pledge your commitment. Fantastic. Kester, thank you for pledging your commitment. So as at the time Ms. Adekola started, I'm not sure she had any clients, any cross-border clients, but she's been able to build her clientele. So sometimes getting out, you don't necessarily have to have clients, but putting out thought leadership in that area is very, very important. Okay, so somebody is asking, how do you handle the apathy? I would see if we can answer this question in just 1 minute, because we don't want to overrun our time. We want to stick to time so that when we invite you next time, you will show up for it. Please, if you can spotlight that question again on apathy, I'd appreciate it. Okay, somebody said that a very edifying webinar was fantastic. Thank you for your. I can't see that. I'm not sure I can see the question on apathy again. Please, if you can spotlight it, that would be good. Otherwise, we may have to bring a conversation. Okay, so the question is, how do you handle the apathy towards Nigerians by other African countries in cross-border practices? Ms. Adekola, would you like to answer that?
Okay, thank you for that. I think for me, I would first of all say let's clear that apathy towards Nigerians. There will always be issues, but I think first things first, if you remember, I had said earlier, understanding the cultural nuances of other jurisdictions. What it takes is, if you understand the way that they operate, they do things, it should be easy for you to manage that relationship. That's the truth. That's the truth about it. You must understand. It is very key, understanding their cultural differences, the way things operate. I mentioned that, for instance, Nigeria, we are fast-paced. We do work, we want it back. You are able to, client can say, I want this, and we are expecting 14, and you're able to turn it in 24 hours. For African countries, it can be quite slow. It doesn't move as fast. And it's not because they have apathy to it, but that's just their own way of doing it. So you must be able to know how to manage that relationship, and also how to manage the relationship with manage communications with your clients. I think for me, my experience so far with other Africans has been amazing. I'm not going to, because there's the mutual respect, understanding them, understanding their nature, understanding the way they do things. And because there's already, am I saying there's no bias? There is, the way Nigerians are, but it is for you to also then put it the way that you understand our differences and you respect that difference, that you're not trying to impose, and you're finding a way to be able to to manage or ensure that relationship works. That's what I'll just say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And she had said it all, that we need to understand our cultural nuances and know how to manage our relationship. I would just say we need to have cultural intelligence, cultural awareness is very important, because, like, she said that sometimes they see us as Nigerians are very aggressive. We want to do things fast, but if we are able to also go with them, flow with them, they will be able to trust us. Like she said, that trust is also essential. And somebody was asking about social media handle of our speakers. I don't know if our speakers would like to just let us know your social media handle, or you can drop it in the chat box, or if you can just call it out right away, so that our audience can actually connect with you. And if any of them wants to have further conversations or interactions with you, they can take it up from there. So please, if you can just drop it, or you can just unmute yourself for just 1 second and just let us know what your social media handles are. Dr. Agama, please.
Okay, I'm on LinkedIn, but I can't give you the URL immediately. I'll probably...
No, you can just tell us what the name, what's your name is as it is on LinkedIn. That will be easier. Your name as it is on LinkedIn.
It's just the way it is, Michael Agama.
Okay, you heard it. Michael Agama, that's his name on LinkedIn. So please connect with him on LinkedIn. Omobola Adekola, over to you, please.
Omobola Adekola, that's my name. That's my name on LinkedIn. And you can also find details of the podcast on my LinkedIn page. That's
fantastic. So you've heard that, Omobola Adekola on LinkedIn, and you can also find details of the podcast on our LinkedIn page. And I would also want to crave the indulgence of our speakers to say, please look out for your LinkedIn, and so that when they reach out to you or they send you connection requests, you are able to grant it immediately, and they can take the conversation from there. But most importantly, I would want to encourage each and every one of us, if you are not yet a member of this subcommittee, you can see how interesting today's conversation is. And this is just one of several conversations we are going to be having in this regard, because the committee is committed to seeing how we can expand the pie in this area, so that more lawyers can benefit from this area and we can make more money. Because money, you know me, money is important, especially in this economy that we are in. And if you can make some effects in your practice, why not? Right. So I think it's on this note, I want to thank and appreciate our speakers for doing justice to this conversation. Exactly the way we planned it is what we've achieved today. So I'd like to thank very much Dr. Agama. I'd like to also thank Dr. Adekola for steering to this conversation. I said Dr. Adekola. Maybe it's a prophecy. Maybe it's a prophecy. Thank you, Ms. Adekola, for steering the conversation today. And we do hope that when we reach out to you next time, you would oblige us so that we can have more and draw more from your wealth of experience and expertise. So on this note, I will hand over to our subcommittee chair for our vote of thanks. And thank you, everyone. It's been my pleasure moderating today's session. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Honorable Moderator. Thank you to the amazing speakers. We deeply appreciate you. I know we have Director of Projects of the subcommittee on the call, Ayodeji Bruce, who's going to be giving the vote of thanks. So Ayodeji, over to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to start by saying wow, because I definitely am going to rewatch this session, because it was so much knowledge given out in a matter of 1 hour plus. And I would like to extend appreciation to the erudite faculty for bringing their wonderful insights on the subject matter. Dr. Agama, we're very grateful, and Mr. Adekola, thank you very much. We are forever in your debt. And funny enough, the only way we can repay this debt is by knocking on your door more to ask you to come and honor us some more in some other way. So please, when we do that, do not turn us away. We are very grateful to the section chair, the illustrious Leonard Silk Falashadi. We are very grateful for trusting us with this particular responsibility and for allowing us to do our thing. We're very grateful. We're very grateful. And to the committee chair, Mr. Fernandez Obiene, Marcus Obiene, we're very grateful for your continued support at every point in time, despite, coming in maybe with very, very innovative requests. Of course, we're in technology committee, so we have to be innovative. We'd like to thank the subcommittee chair / impromptu moderator. Thank you for a great job. Thank you for your leadership. Yeah, we are glad to have you lead our team. We're very grateful to the moderator, the eloquent moderator, who, despite all the technological challenges and network issues, was able to resist the resistance. And we're very grateful for the industry you put in today's session. Excuse me. And to the secretariat of the subcommittee, the committee, and the section, we're very grateful for your support, technology support, administrative support. Thank you very much. And of course, to our wonderful attendees, this would have made no sense if you didn't join us. To all of you that joined at any point in time, we're very grateful. And we look forward to hosting you some other time, and to your membership, your active membership. We have an amazing team, and we look forward to having you on it. So if you would like to join us, if you haven't already dropped your email address, please make sure you join the committee, the technology committee, and you tell the secretariat that you want to join our amazing subcommittee. So thank you very much, everybody, for making this a success. We're very grateful, and I think that's all from me. Thank you. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.